Oak Plaza Hotel, a good place for great food and memorable experiences. So, look, if you need to make an urgent call, but you realize you don't have credit, or your very important conversation has been cut short, not because of your SIM card, but because you've run out of airtime, well, there's no need for all that stress, because all you have to do on MTN is dial star 506 hash, and you get to borrow credit on MTN Extra Time. The best part is you can also borrow data by dialing the same number, star 506 hash, and you can bundle data whenever you run out to continue browsing as always. Your conversations don't need to end. Borrow extra time now and enjoy the things you love on your favorite network, MTN. Retail prices of fertilizer have increased by more than 200%. There's a real threat to the availability of basic food crops in the coming months as farmers are unable to buy needed fertilizer. Farm Line is supporting farmers by making affordable fertilizer available to farmers through a discount program. And they are inviting you to also support them by donating 10 Ghana cedis or more to raise 1 million Ghana cedis to reach over 25,000 farmers this season. Simply dial star 887 star 4444 hash to donate. Your donations go directly to the farmers and directly towards food security in Ghana. That's a worthy cause to get behind. So Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited is still your number one supplier of quality office essentials, equipment and furniture at affordable prices. And they have introduced an online store for your shopping convenience, which means you can now just log in to kingdomstoreonline.com, and you can get everything you need from Kingdom, pay via Momo across all networks, and if you live in Accra or Tema, the delivery will be free. Terms and conditions do apply. At Kingdom, quality and affordability are their hallmarks. Okay, so this is what happened yesterday.
Your Majesty, Mummy, the scale of this evening's celebration and the outpouring of warmth and affection over this whole Jubilee weekend is our way of saying thank you. Thank you from your family, the country, the Commonwealth, in fact, the whole world.
We continue to be inspired by the kindness of strangers and draw comfort that even on the darkest nights, there is hope in the new dawn. Jesus touched on this with the parable of the Good Samaritan. The man who is robbed and left at the roadside is saved by someone who did not share his religion or culture. This wonderful story of kindness is still as relevant today. Good Samaritans have emerged across society, showing care and respect for all, regardless of gender, race, and background, reminding us that each one of us is special and equal in the eyes of God. The teachings of Christ have served as my inner light, as has the sense of purpose we can find in coming together to worship.
Now, shortly after her ascension to the throne, Queen Elizabeth was faced with a fast-changing empire as colonies in Africa gained independence and became republics. Even at a young age, the Queen then used her charm and influence to get the newly independent nations to remain within the Commonwealth.
A controversial visit that became historic. Accra in November 1961. Bombs had gone off in the city days before the Queen arrived. President Kwame Nkrumah's statue was ripped off. Its remains are today preserved at the Memorial Park in the capital. Ghana was among the first African countries south of the Sahara to gain independence from colonial rule. It became a republic and joined the Commonwealth. But in London, there were fears it was slipping away and the Soviet Union was gaining ground. So, despite the security concerns, the Queen was keen to go ahead with the long-promised visit, and it was billed as a great success. Kwame Jantua's father was a cabinet minister at the time.
My dad woke us up very early in the morning, and three of us, me and my two sisters, and the Ashantis had a derba for her. They pulled everything, all the stops. It was a fantastic derba, beautiful derba, colorful derba, talking drums, everything was there. And it left a huge legacy on the minds of Ghanaians for quite a long time.
It was at her farewell banquet that she made history. A dance with the man who replaced her as head of state of Ghana was hugely symbolic. A queen well ahead of her time. But back home, not everyone was ready to embrace the message.
The first black man to dance with the queen. It's understood that when the picture was published in a newspaper in the UK, it was withdrawn from circulation.
All doubts in Ghana were at an end. The Queen's visit was going to take place. From near and far, Ghanaians converged on the airport, hoping to be among the first to see the royal lady of whom they'd heard so much. Most of the tribal chiefs were there, and 40 paramount chiefs, with umbrellas to indicate to the knowing the degree of rank importance.
Yeah, that first visit to Ghana, memorable indeed.
Yeah.
You know, all around the world, people are drawing connections between whatever their state of livelihood is and this event.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, they didn't call it Great Britain for no reason. You know, it's the influence of the British Empire, and well, now no longer an empire, but of course the British Kingdom.
That's true.
Is felt around the world. But very interesting views have been coming through on social media. It's very hard to understand, but people seem to have a very interesting take on the Queen. I did promise I'll share tidbits about her. Are you ready for one more?
Yes, please.
Okay, so she is a big promoter of British products and fashion. So every time you see her holding a handbag, 99% of the time, it's a bag made by a designer, Lorna. Okay, but she never carries money in her handbag, except on Sundays. On Sundays, Her Majesty carries one note in her bag for collection at the Anglican Church, and that note is ironed and folded before it's put in her bag.
You know the interesting part? As head of the church, she has to pay. Head of the church who actually who participated in offertory.
Yeah, right? She's paying it to herself.
Yes.
Fascinating. Listen, let's talk about how social media is reacting, especially here in Ghana, where this particular tweet caught my eye. It says, people acting like a nice little old lady from down the street died, and not someone who profited off generations of institutionalized wealth built off the backs of colonialism, slavery, and oppression. Oh, and whose family still hoards that wealth whilst the rest of us suffer.
Well,
okay, Ray, I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yes, I agree that the British Empire, like the Ashanti Empire, expanded beyond its bounds. Let's not forget that. The Ashanti Empire went as far as Cote d'Ivoire, the Northern Territories, went as far as the Transvolta, Togoland. Yeah, but if somebody from a leader of the Ashanti Empire were to die today, the conversation would not be whether or not the Ashanti Empire is a beneficiary of previous deeds. But let's be clear, the empire is not what it's seen today. In 52, when she became queen, the very element, and let's not forget that 5 years later, Ghana became independent.
Yeah.
And even until it became a republic, she was our first head of state within that space. Let's sometimes be a bit more nuanced in how we look at some of these things. If you're saying that she promoted colonialism, how did she do that? You're saying that she's a beneficiary of colonialism. So what would she have done differently? How about all the things she did in bringing together the Commonwealth of Nations and all the good that she's done across the world, even today? And most importantly, the soft power implementation and engagement with peaceful things. If the British government decided that it was not going to end colonialism at a point, and people don't think that it was our fight that led to it anyway, so that's a different conversation. If the British Empire at the time, if the British Parliament had actually said we're not ending colonialism, even though she has veto powers, which has not been used since 1708, she couldn't have done anything different. So at least, I think we should look at her as a ceremonial head of a nation whose powers had so much been watered down. At the time that she had become queen, she couldn't have gone all over the world to say that we are bringing more people into the colonialist fold. Just a couple of months ago, the 54 nations of the Commonwealth, 2 more who were not previous colonies of the British Empire, sought to join. Why are they joining? Because they felt this was a good union. And the Commonwealth of Nations indicatedly was supposed to promote what's supposed to be our collective worth.
I think the simple timeline is that since she became queen, more countries became independent.
Nobody became colonized.
Exactly. And rather, an organization has been formed to help support the nations that were coming out of colonialization. So, really, get your facts straight. We have the minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu, on the line because, of course, so many tributes have been pouring in for the late monarch. Mr. Iddrisu, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, and thank you very much, and to your esteemed listeners. The world has lost a global icon, the most respected and admired, who exemplified the pomp and pageantry of royalty within the meaning of Western culture and Western civilization. An unparalleled icon who has contributed to the stability of Africa, peace in many, many parts of the world, with a perfect understanding of her powers, either you want to say being eroded or being encroached or being watered down in the name of modernization. Her passing and death must reunite the British Commonwealth. I've had the opportunity at an international forum of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association to state with emphasis that post-Brexit, we expect the United Kingdom to bond and bond better with the Commonwealth as an alternative of us building a world with shared values of peace and stability with respect for one another. The world have lost her. Just witness the transitional arrangement, lessons to learn. That has been done. So it's a world in grief and a world in mourning. May her soul rest in perfect peace.
Thank you for that. We have the majority leader on the line as well, Osei Mensah Bonsu, Member of Parliament for Swami. Mr. Mensah Bonsu, what a pleasure. Good morning. Although it's a pity about the circumstances.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So at this point, with all tributes pouring in, I have no doubt that the majority in Parliament have some thoughts on the death of the monarch.
Well, the transition of the Queen of England and the head of the Commonwealth should certainly be a sad moment for all of us. For a long time, she's held high the flag of Britain and indeed also held high the unity of the Commonwealth of Nations involving about 54 countries. We've done this for about 70 years. through her coronation in June 1953. I remember she came to Ghana in 1961 when we were very young. We had not started school at the time. And then when we entered school in 1962, the white was with her image were distributed to all and all peoples in the country. She's done so well for the Commonwealth as an institution, and I think she's seen and indeed worked with about 16 prime ministers in the UK, spanning 1955, when she came to the throne with Winston Churchill, and now with Liz Truss, who just ascended the mantle, the Prime Minister of UK. But 15 prime ministers, 15 tenures. If you remember that Harold Wilson came to be recycled, the prime minister who was repeated, twice, but at different eras.
Yeah.
So she's done well, and the world will certainly remember her for her accomplishment in holding the Commonwealth together. When she came, the British imperial power was at height. Incidentally, not too long after she assumed the reins of power, the countries within the Commonwealth started exfoliating and seeking their independence. So today, we have about 64 of the countries that are within the Commonwealth. As I said, it held thus far the unity of the Commonwealth. But just before her departure, remember some of the countries started agitations to pull out. Canada, which still recognizes her as the head of state. There were attempts starting from Quebec to pull out. Recently in Australia, there have been agitations. But somehow the deference that most of them have for the Queen has kept them together within the kingdom. I want to believe that with her demise, the aura that she bore, I'm not too sure that the succeeding king, the first son, Prince Charles, now King Charles, may have that aura. So I think we're going to witness new developments. I caught my colleague, the Honorable Haruna Iddrisu's statement at the tail when she related to events within the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association. The last meeting that we held in Canada, there were strong views that we should move the headquarters of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association from London to elsewhere. And people are thinking that if Malaysia has offered to host the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's headquarters, the reason is that the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association is registered as a charity organization in the UK. Subscriptions, when they get to a certain level, tip off fund charity organizations in Britain. Other nations have been protesting, and yet not much has been done about it. It is what is agitating the countries within the Commonwealth, the parliament within the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, to pull out, because we think that we cannot continue to be contributing to funding charities in Britain. So we'll have this development. Is it going to happen? Paradoxically, some Francophone countries, given what is going on in the world, also want to come and join the Commonwealth fraternity, to the extent that the last CPA that held in Canada, Togo and Gabon were there. The next meeting, the next conference will be holding in Ghana in September next year. Already we have indications that some countries in the sub-region, some Francophone countries, want to join the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, which means that they think that they can have effective cover under the Commonwealth. The point at issue is the lady, the Queen, through her instrumentality, has managed to hold the Commonwealth together. I'm not too sure that with her demise, we'll be able to hold it together the way she kept everything together as one family, as one unit. But events will tell following after her own transition. In the meantime, I think having recognized her massive achievement, the unity and stability that she has fostered within the Commonwealth, one can only wish her well, her successor well, and also wish the family peace and tranquility. May the Almighty God give a good resting place.
Thank you very much. Gracefully done. Osei Mensah Bonsu is the majority leader in the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. We thank you for your time. Earlier we heard from the minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu. Ray.
The understanding of geopolitical system and how influential she's been. In fact, there's a study by Anthony Seldon about, and Sir Anthony Seldon is a wonderful historian. He actually wrote about the very things that when political leaders cannot achieve, the governments all over the world go and beg her to go and negotiate for them and get them good deals. So across the world, even the 1961 engagement with Nkrumah, for example, on Ghana and our continuous role in the Commonwealth, when there was some fear that if Ghana becomes fully independent, we are going to be problematic for the rest of the Commonwealth and others will join us out of the system. So that's what we've lost. Somebody who cuts across political lines, religious lines, somebody who's respected across the world, somebody who can really bring countries together and yet remains so impartial, so unaffected, not unaffected though, so untainted by the partisanship that happens all over the world. That's the kind of person we've lost. The point about whether this is a replacement, the king will be the same. After almost 4 decades of internship, one will learn a few things. Hopefully that will come to his aid whenever he's replaced. But it will be difficult to fill in that huge gap with the same sort of skills, with the same sort of competence, and with the same sort of aura that she had.
After 70 years of reign, the British people themselves are describing her as the greatest monarch they've ever had. You know, and you can see why. For those of you who are a bit confused about her role in colonialism and all that, get it right. She's the queen who ended colonialism. She ended it. Let's get educated. Thank you all. Thank you, Ray. And listen, we've got some friends coming through. Stay with us right after these.